So in today's video, I'm going to show you how I added on these false fronts to my slide out shelves. All right, so what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to put these door handles on these drawer fronts, or vertical drawers actually, vertical shelves for the kitchen sink. So I want them about 1/3 of the way down. I don't want them directly in the middle, but I do want them so they're easy to reach from when you're standing up and you reach down into the cabinet to pull them out. So because they're on the ground, I think it'd be better to have it like 1/3 of the way from the top. So the measurements are going to be exactly the same here. I basically took the length of these drawers and divided it by 3. And that left me with 7 5/8 coming down from the top. Now, as you can see, both these drawers are different size widths. So this particular one here is 2 3/4, and both sides are the same. And this one here is 3 1/4, just slightly under 3 1/4, and it's slightly under 3 1/4. So I went and used blue tape and made my marks here as to where, I don't know if you can see them very well, as to where the center of the hole is. And then I took my Craig's jig here and I've lined it up so that this center mark here lines up with this center piece here. And then I come down here and adjust it the same way. So there's another center mark right here on this side. And I made sure that that one lines up there so that when I press it up against the side here, the stop against the side, this mark lines up and this mark lines up. And it's important to do that because when you adjust it, sometimes you don't get it exactly the same. So it's important to go back and forth to make sure that both of them line up. Then the next thing I did was made sure that these two holes line up with the length of my handle here, which they do. So now all it's a matter of is just basically bringing this down and lining up the center part of the hole here, which I can just barely see, which is right there. Make sure, yep. Line up the center part and then go ahead and drill that out. And again, I use a piece of plywood underneath to prevent any tear out on the back. And most of the time you can feel when it goes into the plywood. You can feel that when you're going through maple, it has this hard hit into the plywood, or a softer hit, I should say. As you're pushing through, it just sort of goes in a little bit easier. And now we'll line up this one here. All right, so again, I have this one, which is a little bit wider. So I'm going to loosen up both of these handles, and I'm adjust this until the center lines up with that mark that I made right there. And I'm gonna go to the bottom part because it has a line up there. And I can see that it is actually tilted this way. So it's actually like 1/8 of an inch difference. So I'm gonna rack this one back till that's lined up center. And now when I slide this against here tight, that's center. And come on up here. And this one is actually off a little bit. So I'm gonna bring this back a tiny bit. Because at that angle, it probably didn't line up correct when I first had them tightened down. So now this is centered up, and bring this one back, this is centered up. And then I'm looking through the hole here and I could see my line here and I have that centered up. So now it's centered up in this hole, so I know this one is correct. They're both in the right spots. I hold it down tightly and make my first drill. And then I make my second. All right, let's see if I went all the way through. I did not go all the way through on the top one. So I will just continue like this. And I could easily put a piece of tape there to mark it, but seeing as how there was just only 2, I took the lazy way out. So these are my holes that line up with my handles. and which I will use to set these drawers, which we will do next. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is a little easier way that I found to line up these drawer fronts onto the cabinets. And before, if you look at my other video, which probably be up here someplace, you'll see that I would do this with the cabinet standing up, and then I had to put cards around it. And it does make it a little bit easier somewhat, but I found that when I tilted the cabinet down and put it on its back, it made it much easier. Oh, I see. It made it much easier to line these up, just set them down. They pretty much go in place, and then lining them up with cards was much, much easier. So for example here, take 2 on the side, 2 on the side, so we'll need 3. So I'm just getting an even number of cards here on both sides till they're tight. And that way I know I have this right in the middle there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this just makes sure that the drawer is even all the way around when I put my screw in. Now I'll be able to adjust this a little bit. And as far as once I get the holes drilled out. Now a lot of people use different methods for lining up everything. And a lot of people use the card method, which is about the easiest. Oh, I lost my cards there. It wasn't quite tight enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we are. All right. So I have even number of cards top and bottom, even number of cards on both sides. That puts the drawer right in the middle. So all I have to do now is go ahead and take my drill and drill out this hole. Follow this straight on through. Like that. And like that. So now with this hole drilled out, I'll be able to add on my handle, which will lock that drawer together. So let me see, I will have to flip the cabinet over, flip the cabinet forward to do that. So I will go ahead and just finish up drilling on this side first. So again, like I said, this allows the drawers to sit down nice and smooth in there. Make it easy to make the adjustments. You don't have to worry about the drawer falling. So you see there's a slight variance as you place these cards around, 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So the main objective here is just to make sure that the drawer is in the middle here, that we have equal space all the way around the drawer before we make our holes. And like I said, using gravity to assist us makes this so much easier. Now what I will do is flip this cabinet up, go ahead and attach my door handles there to attach the drawer fronts, make the little adjustments I need to before I tighten it down. Then from the back, I can bring in a screw at the top and a screw at the bottom to primarily fix this drawer in place so that everything lines up. So that's a couple quick tips for you to use when you're aligning drawers and doors up together on a cabinet. I have some flip out drawers here that I will be showing you in the next video how to put those in for the sink. But once I get that done, my sink cabinet is finished. All right, so as you can see, adding these false fronts and lining them up with this opening is relatively easy to do once you lay this down on its back and use gravity to hold everything in place. It works out pretty easy. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please give it a like and subscribe. And my next video, I'm going to show you how I installed these flip out drawer fronts. Relatively easy to do, and you can do it to any existing sink cabinet that you have that has false drawer fronts on it. Stay tuned.